Hello and welcome everybody to KSB TV. Today with a really special guest. You have seen it in the thumbnail already. Crypto Sloth is here with us today to discuss how Hedron is pumping Hex, and I'm really excited to talk with him about this topic. First, let's bring up the Hex line here to get through a little introduction, and let's ask the Hex line. Hex line, what have you been doing the last couple of days? How have you been working the last couple of days to promote Hex?
Yeah, hello everybody. Hopefully everybody has a good time out there. I am astonished by the Hex price. You know, I like it a lot. What we saw the moves this week, and how I promote right now Hex. You know, I'm in the background with skating a little bit, planning the Hex birthday, which we have going on in December, and then people are interested about the cruise, you know, coming on board, so to speak. For example, Captain RG3 will be on the Hex cruise with us next April, and all those things I'm working on in the background, and also like to prepare for this stream, you know, a little bit in the Hedron and Icosa space, you know, looking up like how to get like to the auctions, what the dates are, and a little bit into the selection of good HSI stakes.
And like always, we do a little introduction here, go through Twitter, and I have a couple of things prepared for you. So right now is the time to go here to Twitter. I've already put it into the chat, what you can retweet to gather everybody here to learn about how Hedron pumps Hex. And it would be amazing if you just click here on retweet to bring everybody here. That would be cool. And then Patrick has said it already, we are planning a lot for the Hex birthday in San Diego, December 1st to 3rd, and we want to give away a free ticket. So you just go to KSB TV, click on this post here. We have to follow, retweet, and also comment from where you are coming from to attend the Hex birthday. And we are seeing here, we have somebody from Germany, Frankfurt, from New York, from all over the place, and that's how cool it is. We really have a diverse group in Hex who attends our parties all the time. Patrick, do you have a little bit more to say about this party here?
Yeah, sure. So just about the party on the 2nd, or like about the whole 3 days?
Let's talk about the party here a little bit. The ticket that people can win is a $250 ticket. So what is included?
Yeah, so that is a VIP ticket, including bottle service in the VIP section of the nightclub. We are at the Park nightclub in San Diego. That's downtown San Diego, and yeah, we will also have like a lot of Hex merch there for the Hex birthday party, of course, and a great time.
And if you go to KSB TV, you can sign up for this party, and the normal ticket is just $25, and higher ticket, I think, $125, and then the VIP ticket that we are giving away for free right now, $250, and with this, I think you are covered pretty much. All right, so let's jump to the next section here. What I am working on the most right now, I've put in like 12 hours a day of editing, is on our documentary. And you see it here already, all the episodes are planned. And today we are about to release episode 3 of the 5555 tour documentary. And I'm so excited because this one is with Lindsay the Hexican. And after our stream, when we release the documentary, we have another stream with KSB TV, with Lindsay, with CZ, with Kaylin, and also Yori Hex about women in crypto. So definitely keep on watching and give the girls a follow there as well. And every second day, a new episode will come out, and you can go to KSB TV and just click here and notify me, for example, to never miss an episode. And if you maybe want to see all the episodes right now, you cannot wait, then you can also sign in for our membership here. This helps the Million Post Tour to come to fruition and make it bigger than it ever was. And when you click here, then you see the perks and you can watch season 1 and 2 in full length. You don't have to wait until we roll it out. Patrick, you have seen a couple of those episodes. What do you say?
Yeah, I like them a lot. I mean, it's like, on the tour we met those people. We also had like our private interview with most of them as well. And now seeing what they are, because most of the time I didn't saw the content so much, so I didn't even hear so much like what the people were answering. I knew like what question we are asking and so on, and from time to time I heard a little bit of a interview. But now, like hearing their actual words and how you cut it, I like it a lot.
Thank you. And yeah, and sometimes those episodes really touch me, and I hear those stories from those people, how Hex has changed their life and how they want to spread the love. It's just beautiful. And here I want to show you this, since you are not on Twitter, on the Kryptosloth Twitter page here. Everybody, you should give them a follow. And we have some cool pictures here. Look at this. This is from the tour. I don't know exactly what city it is.
That was in Napa Valley.
In Napa?
No,
Yeah.
no.
There's a Christmas tree, so maybe this gives away something.
This should, yeah, if it's a Christmas tree, it should be Miami, right?
Possible. Here, maybe this picture gives it away. Oh man, I missed the car so much, and I'm so glad that we were able to give an auction out this car in the community. So I know it's in really good hands right now.
That's true, yeah.
All right, so with no further ado, let's bring on Kryptosloth and talk about Hedron. Let's talk about Icosa, how Hedron pumps Hex. This is really what we want to discuss today. And yeah, let's bring up Kryptosloth. How's it going? You are muted still.
What's up, guys? Sorry. Glad to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I'm so glad that you are doing this with us, so we can learn a little bit more about Hedron and Icosa, because everything is coming up right now. There's also Poly, for example, then there are the auctions in the future, and there's so much to learn.
Yeah. Well, first, congrats on getting all the 5555 tour video out and all the episodes. I enjoyed going to the like you saw one of the meetups. That was a fun time, and so it's nice to see some of that work come to fruition. I did one of the one-on-one interviews, so I'm interested to see if I make the final cut in one of these episodes.
I must say, right now I'm going through all the content, and I've not been able to see all the participants because it's just so much.
It's a lot, yeah.
So much terabyte, and you really get to a physical barrier here when it comes to uploading it to the cloud or actually looking through it, because it's just so much. And I only have 24 hours, right?
Of course.
I'm also really excited that the episodes are rolling out now. They are already planned on YouTube until November 13th. So now I'm working on the next episodes, and it's going to be amazing. I want to encourage everybody to go to KSB TV and look at the episodes. I think they're great. They're really showing how people change their life with Hex. But for now, let's jump into the Hedron topic. And I want to ask Patrick. Patrick, we are talking about Hedron for a long time already. When you have a HEX stake, then you get Hedron basically for free. And what is the most exciting for you about Hedron right now? I mean, the price has been rising in Hedron as well. What is especially for you that you are looking at for the stream today?
Yeah, so first of all, the price of Hedron looks pretty stable, looks pretty good. It also offers the market, new liquidity pairs and all that, and also like some utility for Hex itself. Because what I like a lot is the option to stake your Hex through an HSI stake, which means that you have like more flexibility in the stake. So you can, for example, move the stake from one wallet to another. You can tokenize the stake. You can borrow Hedron on it, and you can do a lot of things there. You can, for example, what I also like, is 5555 staking. So, for example, you can make a 5555 Hex stake, and then a year later you can just mint your Hedron. You would get for free on that, and then you can stake the Hedron, and then you get Icosa, and then you can, like, over the years with just one move, you can like really build up a whole portfolio.
Exactly. And it's a whole ecosystem that's about to pump Hex, right? And this is what we also want to answer today, because a lot of people do not understand the game mechanics about Hex. And I've looked through it a lot. The only thing that I obviously do not have in my head is like with all the pools and where the ratio is and stuff like this. But overall, I think I have a pretty good grasp of Hedron. So it's really up to the viewers today to ask questions, to see what is the interest of theirs when it comes to this ecosystem. And besides that, we will jump into all of those topics a little bit for sure. So Kryptosparbuch, what is the most exciting when it comes to Hedron for you?
Yeah, so for me, definitely having these auctions around the corner is the most exciting right now, because for those of you guys watching who understand the mechanics of Hedron, there's a lot of supply coming out, but these auctions, the Hedron that's used to bid on the HSIs gets burned. The winner of the HSI, the Hedron that they use to bid, gets burned, and so these auctions, the first day we have like 27,000 T-shares coming up. Able to be bid on, and so that's 27,000 T-shares worth of Hedron that's going to be burnt. So it's like a nice supply sink on the supply of Hedron, which is going to be pretty fun to watch. At the same time, that burned Hedron is going to translate into Icosa yield for all of our Hedron, Icosa stakes, and our Wetza NFTs. So November 13th is really the first day where the entire system is finally moving as a whole, and we have all of the parts working together. And we're going to get a lot of data to kind of see like how successful the system is going to be medium to long term. So finally, like everything's going to be like out and running.
Finally, it's going to be out and running, and the great thing is this is just the first day, right? Where everything is complete. From there, it doesn't stop anymore, right? There's going to be more auctions in the future. Of course, this is like a really big event because it's like a hitting try and everything comes together, and then probably it will be less in the future, right?
Yeah, so I have access to this Discord channel where like Silver the Antidote, he makes like bots, and it tracks every time somebody sells an HSI for Icosa. And just like today, like there was one, I'm looking for it now, but it was like a $14,000 HSI stake, like worth of Hex, was sold to the Icosa contract for Icosa. And in 90 days from now, that's going to be on the liquidation auction. So even 2 months out from that initial hype phase of the Icosa launch, we're still getting significant like 5-figure size HSIs being sold to the liquidation auction. And to me, that just signifies like the health of the system, because what's what I'm looking for? That results in Hedron burn, but it's also providing incentive for the that's also providing incentive for people to stake their Hedron and stake their Icosa, which bolsters the price of both of those coins. Because if you're staking, you're not selling.
Exactly. So somebody already told me since I'm in Mexico, I have to mute myself all the time when I'm not speaking. So and today I saw a chart, pretty interesting, and I've not thought about that before. There is a difference of auctions, HSI stakes that are coming out, right? Some have a 10x bonus, some have not, and most of them don't, right? It's the 10x is in the majority, I think.
Yeah, the vast majority don't have a 10x. I think the general advice when people were going to sell their HSIs was to not use one of your launch phase ones, because those are finite. So there'll never be a stake ever again that has a 10x bonus on top of it. And so those are incredibly rare.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we have a problem right now? Okay.
I think
yes, that's good. Yeah, you're back. Go ahead.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Basically, because those launch phase bonuses are finite, people didn't want to give it up, and you only got like a 10% bonus on Icosa for a 10x launch bonus. So like the reward for giving up a launch bonus stake really wasn't there. Like I kept all of mine, and I just made new stakes for the day one of Icosa. But if you're able to get one on the auction, that's a good deal for you, because there were still a decent amount of them that were sold.
So this would be my next question. Like, how do you look for the right HSI stake to be out? I've not even seen a front end yet where we can see all the HSI stakes that are available.
Yeah, let me drop a link, because if you guys know Dev Huey on Twitter, he's a data scientist, and he's been doing a lot of really good work I'll post it in the private chat so you can post the link in the actual chat. And he created a front end where you can see all of the HSIs that are on the liquidation auction with some like with ability to filter too. So anybody who's interested in that, who wants to see like exactly what kind of stakes are going to be up and that are going to be going, go to his website, hexmodel.com.
We're going there right now, so we can discuss that, because this is exactly what I have seen today on Twitter, and this is where my question came from. So will we be able to look out for those juicy 10x HSI stakes to snipe them up, something like this?
Yep, exactly. So if you go to, I believe, launch phase bonus on the bottom right, and you just pull that left bar all the way to the right, then it'll filter out everything that's not a 10x bonus. So yeah, go to the bottom right, launch bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then move that all the way over. Yeah, all the way, and then let go. And then everything left, it has a 10x bonus on it at the bottom. So you see that, yeah, there's 2,000 on the day one. There's going to be 2,357 HSIs that have a 10x launch bonus on them for you to be able to scoop up.
And what do you think? What will be the chance that a normal user can just do that, like you and I?
Personally, I don't know. My intuition says pretty low. Now, the reason why is because, well, so there are two ways to look at it, and this is why I don't know. The first reason is I don't think it's going to be very feasible because so many people are going to be competing for these 10x bonus ones. Like that's where a lot of attention is going to be. But the counter argument to that is that there's so many of them. Like 2,357 is a lot of 10x bonuses. That's not including, if you look at all of them that are coming out that day, you know, it's over like 20,000 basically. Like thousands of HSIs are going to be on there. So that's going to be a lot of chaos. And in chaos is where you can find opportunity. So you may be able to slip one through like when people aren't paying attention. But because the opportunity is so great, a lot of people will be paying attention. Now, what's important to note is that these auctions are on a 24-hour time basis. And so once you start it, it's 24 hours till you finish it. So the real activity for bidding on these HSIs is probably going to happen in that last hour. That's when a lot of the craziness is going to happen. The first 23 hours will be kind of whatever. People will like slowly be bidding. But the real craziness on when the prices are going to shoot up and the pandemonium happens is going to be in that last hour and that last like 5 minutes. Because if you guys don't know, if a bid is made in the last 5 minutes, it resets the timer to 5 more minutes. So if you make a bid at 23 hours, 55 minutes, then it sets 5 more minutes at the end of the timer so that like bots can't go in and just like bid at the last microsecond before people can get in. And so these can go on for as many hours as people are willing to bid on it continuously until someone says, okay, I'm not going to pay more than what it's going for right now.
And then what is the last time when somebody makes a bid and no bid comes in anymore? How many hours or minutes does it take before the bid is closing then?
Yeah, it'd be like when you get your HSI, like after it closes, or like
when like somebody makes the last bid, right, and then nobody bids anymore after that because nobody wants to pay more. How long does it take before 5 minutes? All right, I see. Perfect.
And that's after the 24 hours. So if you make a bid at 15 hours and nobody else bids for another 9 hours, then like it ends at the 24-hour period. But if somebody makes a bid at like the 23rd hour, 57 minute, it goes 5 more minutes. And say somebody makes a bid at that last minute, somebody else makes a bid, but nobody else makes a bid for another 5 minutes, then the last bid wins. So it's like 5 minutes, yeah.
All right. And maybe I wanted to talk about that at the end of the stream, but right now it fits so well. And Poly is coming out as well, right, from the Maximus DAO team, a pooling system where DAO is basically then buying up HSI, also staking. It's a whole smart contract that they built. Do you have an opinion about that? Because I thought I would just use Poly. It would be the easiest way. Then I would not have to do that manually. But there are also some other ideas about that.
Yeah. So I like Poly a lot. I like how Dip Catcher and Gold Key, they're creating something to kind of help people who maybe have smaller bags be competitive for larger HSI stakes that they simply wouldn't have access to independently. And I like the idea on like, you know, people coming together to find cool strategies on how to extract value from these HSI liquidations. and at these auctions. So overall, I like Poly. I like what they're doing, and I think it's a value add overall. In terms of what Poly is, it's essentially a pooled entity that you give your Hedron up for. You give up your Hedron, you get a Poly token for minting it 1-for-1, and then they basically use that Hedron to bid on HSIs for you. And so the main use case of this is to mitigate the gas fee cost of ending these HSIs 15 years in the future. And so if you have a bunch of people pooled together with a couple large HSIs, then everybody gets the benefit of the gas fee savings of only having to end, say, maybe a handful of HSIs versus each individual person having to end an HSI that may or may not be profitable in 15 years based on projected gas costs in the future. So for the little guy, say somebody who has a couple million Hedron, for example, this is something really good because you can give up your Hedron, have somebody else do the bidding for you, and then get exposure to larger HSIs down the road. Now, there are trade-offs to that because the functionality of HSIs goes beyond just the hex stake and earning the hex yield and earning the Hedron yield from it. There are two things that you lose access to when you participate in Poly. That is the ability to sell that HSI for Icosa in the future, as well as use the advance feature for the Hedron. So you can't take an advance on the Hedron mintable from these HSIs, and you can't get Icosa from these HSIs that are won. But what you get in return for that are gas fee savings. So I would just divvy up your bag relative to how much you want to get the gas fee savings and exposure to really large HSIs versus the flexibility of owning the HSI yourself in your own wallet. Does that make sense?
Patrick, yeah, of course. Patrick has a different opinion about Poly. We have looked into this as well because the community was asking for that, and that's why Patrick has developed a different perspective. So tell us, Patrick.
I mean, not much difference. So the way he explained it was like perfectly. I have nothing to add there. There was like nothing wrong with that, you know, and it was like perfectly explained, and all the as well, like all the good points and all the bad points, you know, and then it's just about the user needs to decide. So I personally don't like it too much because I am actively managing my portfolio, you know, and I also. And the thing is, you know, participating in the HSI auctions, what I would like to do is kind of maybe create a loop, you know, from time to time, get a good auction, you know, get the HSI, exchange it for Icosa, and then like just increase your Icosa staking back with it, because when you stake Icosa, you get Icosa and Hedron out of that, and you're doing something good for the ecosystem as well, participating and so on, you know. So.
Now, there's something really interesting with Poly that differentiates it from like Maximus and the perpetuals, in that when you minted Maxi or a perpetual stake or a perpetual like Desi, Lucky, or whatever, you gave up one hex and got one of those tokens in return, but the base valuation of those tokens remained in hex, in that the main thing that you're redeeming that token for at the end of the stake is more hex because the Hedron is distributed to the team stakers. Poly is a little bit different because you're giving up one Hedron, you're getting one Poly, but the main valuation of Poly for the underlying stake the underlying pool stake that is being generated is Hex, Hedron, and Icosa, because they're also taking some of that Hedron and they're staking it too. So for the Maxi and perpetuals, you're giving up hex and you're pretty much getting exposure to one token, kind of two with the Hedron, less so with the perpetuals, more so with Maxi. But for Poly, you're giving up one token and you're getting exposure to three tokens: Hedron, Icosa, and hex. So that's something really unique. And I'm going to be really interested to watch how the market prices that in terms of a premium relative to Hedron.
I find that really interesting with the perpetuals. I mean, crypto, we have Hex as a spectacular asset, right? And then we have built the perpetuals on top of that, which is even more speculative, right? We have a contract like Poly, which earns 3 different income sources. So how will the market value that? And this is what we are about to see. But for the smaller user, I'm with you guys. I think it's probably an easier way to handle your Hedron by using Poly than by bidding by yourself, I think.
Yeah.
Right. So this is all the auctions, and we have seen it on the chart. On the first day, it's 2,510 X's that are coming out, way more without a 10x bonus. And after that, we have lower auction rates. How do you expect those auctions to go in the future? Like, will the auctions increase? Like, is there already a game theory behind that should make the auctions increase? Because this is at the end what is burning Hedron, right?
Sorry, wait, you're saying like, how do I think the auctions will continue after the first day?
Yeah, no, in the future, let's say 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, just extrapolated. Will there be more auctions coming out? Like, will there be more interest in HSIs? What do you think?
I think so. I think as long as there's demand for Icosa, a percentage of people trying to acquire the token will use the HSI buyback function, as long as they can't get a better deal on the market. So it's like, if you could take $1,000 and get 1,000 Icosa, just for example, or you could take $1,000, buy Hex, stake it, use the HSI buyback feature, and you can get 1,200 Icosa, where you're going to go through the HSI buyback because you're getting more Icosa. Now, if it's flipped, where you get 1,200 Icosa from the market, where you're just going to take your money and buy it off the market because you're getting more of the thing that you want. And so as the price of Icosa on the market fluctuates, and it's less than the price that you would get it from the HSI buyback, people are going to go to the market to support the price. But if the prices are equal with each other, then people are going to be using the HSI buyback feature more because it makes more sense to do it that way, especially for larger bags, because larger bags, if they want to get a bunch of Icosa, say 1 million Hex, they're trying to get 1 million Hex, convert it to Icosa, they're going to experience a lot of slippage with the current liquidity pool context that we're in with Icosa. So even if the price is cheaper on the market, it may make sense for them to do the HSI buyback mechanism because they experience no slippage going through that vector, through that mechanism of acquiring the token. So it's going to be a push and pull dynamic system depending on the price of Icosa on the market and what's the going rate for Icosa via the HSI buyback mechanism. But yes, I think we'll always have a trickle of HSIs going forward into the future.
And this is the greatest thing, that we can now lock up Hex for 5,555 and sell this HSI stake for Icosa right away, which we then can use to stake, for example, earn more yield, right? So like I totally love the ecosystem, but let's get down to the question, like what exactly it is that Hedron has that pumps the Hex price.
Yeah. So there
can you bring it down to something?
Yeah.
Like, is there one game mechanic?
So no, there's not just one way that Hedron either supports the price or pumps the Hex price. It actually does it in a very diverse way, both pumping it potentially directly and indirectly. So we'll start with some of the indirect methods. And that boils down, that can be traced back to one of the original purposes of Hedron, which is to provide extra liquidity to Hex stakers. So like, say, for example, you have a long Hex stake and you have some kind of medical emergency where you need funds now. Well, people may need to emergency end stake their Hex stake because they just need to pay off their bills in real life. Hedron offers the opportunity to access liquidity through the Hedron USDC pool, and maybe that would be enough to not have somebody have to emergency end stake their Hex stake. So they can mint their Hedron, sell that, and then if that's enough, well, then that decreases sell pressure on the Hex price because people aren't emergency end staking their stakes. It also does that through the HSI tech, the tech that is the HSI, because you can trade stakes. So you can go on the secondary market and sell your stake, which, you know, relieves sell pressure off the Hex price if you were to emergency end stake that stake to sell the Hex to get funds for whatever you might need it for. So obviously that's not pumping the price, but relieving sell pressure from the price allows the velocity of upwards price appreciation to increase. Now there's another mechanism within the Hedron system that also exists in the Icosa system that directly pumps the Hex price, or technically indirectly, but more directly than what I just talked about. And that is arbitrage with the price of Hedron relative to Hex. So it is possible that the price of Hedron goes so high, at least theoretically possible, that you could take $1,000, buy Hex with it, stake it 5,555, and then mint $1,200 worth of Hedron from that stake. So you put in that $1,000, you mint the Hedron through the advanced feature, and then you sell it for more money than you put in at the first place. And this is like the main price positive feedback loop that Hedron theoretically presents. And so if that price ever hits, people will be buying HEX, locking up for 15 years, and then using the Hedron to sell. They'll be selling the Hedron price down. But in order to do that, you have to buy HEX and you have to lock it up, which is the main thing that like HEX is designed to do. Buying it, pumping the price, locking it up for a long time so that those coins don't provide sell pressure on the chart. And so those are really the main ways that Hedron pumps the HEX price, or has the potential to pump the HEX price.
And you said
this potential price, do you know how far it is away? I guess it's
Yep.
like a 10x away or something like that, or?
Yeah, so I have I have a calculator that I made public. If anybody's interested in it, I'll post the link in here, and I have a video on how to use it. But at current prices, we're about 18x away from that price, that ceiling price. But with Icosa, we're at the ceiling price right now for that.
Right. Can you get into that a little bit? So it's 13x for hitting the price that would really then make a HEX
18x.
pump. But for Icosa, you say it is there already?
Yeah, we're already there for Icosa. So here, let me pull up the Icosa chart. And then because it's really cool to visualize this on the Icosa chart. So I'll share my screen and then I'll explain it while we look at it.
So that's the perfect time for everybody to take a deep breath, like the stream, for all the alpha that we are getting here. I'm so excited to see how Hedron and Icosa and at the end also the liquidation auction are all part of how HEX will pump into oblivion in the future. So I see already a screen share. Let's bring that up and let's look into the Icosa price here.
Yeah, so this is the Icosa HEX price chart, where you're valuing the amount of HEX it takes to buy one Icosa. And right now it's about at 34. And so if you'll notice, we have these interesting periods where the price trades at this range, really tight range. Then all of a sudden it pops up, trades at a new range. Here somebody sold it down, people bought it back up, and then it's trading at this range again. And then now we've gone up and done the same kind of sell off back to this price, this really tight band to be trading in. Now, what each of these prices are is that exact ceiling that I was talking about with Hedron, but for Icosa. So you'll notice here that in the Icosa chart, when the price moved from this range to this range, it way overshot where it was right here. What happened when the price was up above this range right in here is that you could take $1,000, stake HEX for 15 years, sell that stake to the Icosa contract, and get more than $1,000 worth of Icosa from that sale. And so what people did here was literally they were buying HEX, staking it, selling the Icosa, which is why the price went down, and then profiting immediately. So right here, we have a real life example in history that happened about in the mid-September, the 14th of September, where the HEX was locked up for 15 years because you could sell Icosa for more than the underlying HEX was worth. So this is an example of how HEX was directly pumped by Icosa. Now, one question that people ask is, well, what determines these ranges? Like, why is it this range and why did it go up? If we go to my calculator here and we go to the ceiling Icosa price in terms of HEX, if you change what this calculator does is it takes the number of HEX, calculates the B shares in the Icosa you can mint from it, and then prices that Icosa in terms of the number of HEX that went into that stake. So for this 480,000 HEX stake, you got 14,000 Icosa at a rate of 33.98. Now let's see what happens to that ratio if we change the number of HEX. Change it to 100,000. Well, we got less Icosa, but that ratio stayed the same. Now, because that ratio stays the same no matter how much HEX we put in. But let's say we change the T-share rate. Let's say we change it to 26,000. Well, all of a sudden, it took more HEX to get Icosa. It took more HEX to get one Icosa than when the T-share rate is lower. Now, what this means is as the T-share rate goes up, you get less and less Icosa for the same number of HEX that you put in. And that's what these levels are. These bumps in price right here, is when the ceiling of like the Icosa price in terms of HEX went up when the T-share rate went up. So HEX Icosa is worth more in HEX. The T-share rate went up. The T-share rate went up, and then now Icosa is more expensive in terms of HEX again. And so over time, if the Icosa price tracks its ceiling price, it's going to gain value in relative to HEX over time.
And what is interesting is that the T-share price is only going up, right? And
Exactly.
then there's also this interesting mechanic where the T-share price is also calculated or looked after twice in the whole system, right?
Yep. So the formula, is the borrowable hedron in that HSI divided by the T-share rate. Now, because the T-share rate always goes up, the denominator of that fraction is always getting bigger. And if the denominator of a fraction is getting bigger, the output of that fraction is always getting smaller. Now, with new HEX stakes, as the T-share rate gets larger, it gets harder and harder to accumulate that same number of shares over time, which means the numerator in the advanceable hedron, which is calculated by the number of B shares that stake has times the stake length in days, as it gets harder to obtain B shares, the new stakes will have less over time. And so the numerator is getting smaller. So the numerator of how much Icosa you can get for the HSI buyback is getting smaller, and the denominator is simultaneously getting bigger. So it's getting exponentially more expensive at the same rate the T-share rate is going up to get Icosa via the HSI buyback formula.
Exactly. So, and this is all like with this healthy game theory, really holistic, that is all made for one reason. You said it so well. I have never heard it like this, to give Hexicans liquidity. And I think this is a really, really good idea.
What do you think about liquidity providing in this kind of pair, for example?
So I really like the Icosa Hex liquidity pair, because so many of the unknowns that are associated with the risk of liquidity providing that generate the impermanent loss, we are knowns within the Icosa Hex pair. So we know, because of the formula that I just outlined, what the price of Icosa theoretically should be in terms of Hex at a given T-share rate. Now, if you go to hexfire.io, let me go to the site and I'll share the screen again. I'll share my screen again. Hexfire.io. They Crispy has made a really, really cool. Yeah, there it is. Has made a really,
do me
really
a favor
cool
and also share the link of your calculator here in the private chat, so I can put it in the chat.
Yeah, I'll do that right after this explanation.
we go.
Okay. He has created. I just like looking at this one. It's a little cleaner. But he has created a really cool projected T-share graph where it takes all of the HEX stakes that currently exist, and it projects out what the T-share rate would be if if all of these stakes ended and nothing else changed. And so what we can see is we can get a projected T-share rate at any given time. So, and we can see these nice big bumps in the T-share rate. So we know, say, around November 23rd, November 25th, there's going to be a large bump, about 500 hex per T-share, in that price. And so what that means is we might see one of these increases in Icosa relative to hex around the end of November. But also what this means for liquidity providing, say we look at this example right here, we can go say, okay, we know that on November 30th, the T-share rate is going to be 25,779. And we know this isn't going to change until like February 14th the next year, where it bumps up to like 26,000. Well, what we can do is we can use that HSI buyback formula, and we can calculate liquidity bands to provide liquidity within a tight range here to earn more fees. And because we know that this is the highest the price can go, we are mitigating our impermanent loss as well. Now, the cool thing in my calculator is that, where is it? I have a little calculator for that. So you can go ahead and put in what 2 T-share rates, and it'll calculate some liquidity bands for you right around the ceiling price. And so, like, say you wanted to do here, we have the first of 25,779. So 25,779, and then say we wanted to just do it 25,800, because we know that it's going to stay around this range for a solid 4 months. And so we can set our liquidity bands at 36.2 hex per Icosa and 36.3 hex per Icosa, and on all of the fees associated with the volume in this range. And because we have this data, we know about how long it's going to take. So we know around February, we probably need to remove our liquidity, wait for the T-share rate to go up, and then reset it over here at this band.
That's
I mean,
amazing.
I totally agree with you. The only thing is like that right now, this T-share graph on hexwire.io might be not like the best projection for the future, because the first step up, what you see here is it means, or like here in the end, you know, it means that the OA would need to end stake its stakes. So I guess we won't see this jump towards the end of the month, or towards the no, where are we? Like towards the end of the month.
About right here. Yeah, it's about the end of November. So yeah, it all depends on what the OA does, which is why he has this blue line here, which is if we take the OA out of it, then this is what the line would look like. And so you can prepare liquidity bands for both situations. If you believe the OA is going to end stake, then you can prepare with the purple line. And if you don't, you can prepare with the blue line. Or you can just wait till this date and see what happens, and then set your liquidity accordingly.
But I really see what you're saying, that it takes away some uncertainty, because the price is bounded with the T-share here. It goes up just a little bit, but it's in this range, and so you can provide liquidity really in a tight range, and then even know when to put it in and pull it out. So that's great. But what is actually the volume in this pair? Does it actually make sense to provide liquidity here?
The last 24 hours is about $51,000 worth of volume. Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, it's not crazy yield. I did it for a while, and it fluctuated between 40 and 80% APR, which is pretty solid. Because with this pair, even if you're yielding 40 to 80%, which is incredible in normal terms, but like is kind of like average in crypto terms, you have to remember that you're yielding on liquid tokens that are theoretically experiencing low and permanent loss. So you're getting the price exposure of both Hex and Icosa over time, and you're just earning a yield on top of that. So yeah, the yield's not super crazy, but the upside of the price appreciation, you're still experiencing the full scope of that, as long as the price stays within the ceiling price over time. And that's really where
there is another advantage. No, let's say I have like a tight range. Let's say I don't know, 33 to 35, and then it goes to 36. Then my position is not like, you know, I didn't lost really. My position is just like all hex, right?
Exactly. So at the end of the day, if the price, if you're from 33 to 34, the price goes to 35, you're completely in hex. And at the end of the day, who's mad about being completely in hex? Like it's not the end of the world. Like you're still in a great asset.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely something to look into. Yeah, and that's why for example, what people could do for a strategy as well with those HSI stakes, maybe not on the first day because there is so much attention on them, but in general, you know, like just get maybe some undervalued HSI stake, you know, then you get the Icosa for that, and then you might have a few liquid hex as well, and then you can start providing liquidity. And yeah, there are so much strategies right now, and that's what I love about the whole system of Hedron and Icosa.
Yeah, and if you go to my channel, anybody who's watching, and you guys too, I have this long stream called the HEX Endgame, where I essentially outline the parameters where Icosa could theoretically absorb all, if not a large percentage, of the HEX sell pressure from end staking HEX. Because say you ended a HEX stake and you staked 80% of it out to the end of your ladder, but you wanted to sell 20% of the HEX for your day-to-day life. Now, if the Icosa price is at this ceiling price, the amount of Icosa that you would get is the exact same in terms of dollar value as the HEX that you would sell on the market. And so if that's the case, then what you could do is, instead of selling the HEX on the market, you could stake it, sell it for Icosa, and then sell down the Icosa chart instead of the HEX chart, which would get HSIs on the liquidation, burning Hedron, with giving us Icosa yield, all while pumping the HEX price because you're not putting sell pressure on the HEX chart. And so what's really cool about that is that it's relieving sell pressure on the HEX chart, but also talking about liquidity, you could take half of it, sell it into Icosa, take the other half of HEX, and then earn yield on it in the HEX Icosa chart, in the HEX Icosa LP band. So you can sell via the Icosa chart, and you can use this pair for passive income for whatever you didn't want to put at the end of your staking ladder.
Patrick, is this one of the strategies that we maybe should put into the Kryptosparbuch or KSB TV strategies?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's a good. Yeah, you need to look about slippage and all that stuff, but yes,
Yep.
of course it is.
So maybe you can tell the viewers, what did we do with our onboarding account when it came to Hedron and Icosa? We have created
really.
HSI stakes, right? I remember.
We created 2 HSI stakes, that's true, but when it comes to Hedron and Icosa, we didn't do too much because the onboarding account is for giveaways, you know, so I never staked too much there. So it's just like one 500 hex stake for 15 years running there. So there is not much exposure to Hedron, but I connected with the dev, you know, I showed all the options, I showed the people how to do a WhatsApp NFT with different wallets. I did obviously WhatsApp NFTs as well, and Hedron staking, Icosa staking, and all that stuff. So but when you ask me specifically with the onboarding account, there we don't have any Hedron or Icosa in it now.
No, I remember when the whole ecosystem was launching, and you were really up to saying, hey, but we have to show the people how to make an HSI stake with your HEX, right? And this was in the time where I've even not looked into it so much, and I've just looked into our statistics of our YouTube channel, and maybe interesting for you that this specific video on how to make an HSI stake, it's really going really good because it's evergreen content. People even today want to know how does that work, click the video and learn about it. So that's really great that we in the beginning showed our community as well how to do those HSI stakes, how to utilize Hedron, even when Icosa was not even out yet, and Icosa really has changed the game. Right, Kryptos, like, how do you see the difference of Hedron without Icosa and now being complete in November 13 when the auctions are coming out? What is the big difference here?
Yeah, so the big difference is that Icosa really aids in getting HSIs on the liquidation auction. So before Icosa was launched, there was this problem that Hedron had that the only way HSIs got on the liquidation auction was if people took an advance on their Hedron and then defaulted on it. Now, the price of Hedron was so low where no one was sufficiently incentivized to take these advances. If no one was incentivized to take advances, nobody was defaulting. If nobody was defaulting, no HSIs were on the liquidation auction, which means no Hedron was burned. So there was no supply sink on the Hedron supply. Compound that with the fact that a small percentage of people own most of the T-shares, a large percentage of the Hedron supply was getting doled out to a very centralized group of people who were just consistently dumping it, which means the price can't go up, which means people don't take advances, which means people don't get liquidated, et cetera, et cetera. So there's this loop, this threshold of price that Hedron needed to reach in order for the system to be self-sufficient in terms of liquidations. What Icosa did is it provided a second avenue for HSIs to get on the liquidation auction, and that's the HSI buyback feature to get Icosa. And we've already seen that be a success. So now that we have HSIs on the liquidation auction, we can get Hedron being burned, we can get some form of arbitration between the Hedron price and the HEX price, because you can exchange Hedron directly for T-shares now. So there's a ratio there, which may put buy pressure on the Hedron chart if you can get a good deal on the HSI liquidation auction. Hedron's being burned, Icosa is being generated for yield, which bolsters the staking mechanism, which is the incentive for people to do the HSI buyback feature in the first place. So Icosa really rounded out the whole system to get the Hedron price to start trending up, which we've already seen it do since the launch of it at 30x, basically from the announce of the launch till now. And so as the price of Hedron goes higher, not only do we have HSIs getting on the liquidation auction because of Icosa, but eventually advances will become more viable. And as advances become viable, a percentage of those will get liquidated, and that will provide even more HSIs on the liquidation auction. Yeah, I think I covered it. I think I got that.
Amazing. It's so great to see all those different corners in Hedron that are about just programmed to pump itself or pump the hex price, right? Or incentivize into this direction and stuff like this. And we have Anka Will saying his slots for Hexican of the year.
Hey.
It's amazing the alpha that you are spitting, and you have it all memorized in your head. I looked at your YouTube channel. You're talking really deep discussions about Hedron, and what Anka Will is talking about here is one of the KSB TV things that we are doing. We have the Hexi Awards, and today there was the nomination for vote for your favorite Hexican community member and who should be awarded female Hexican. Now, this is, I think, from today, but another day is Hexican of the year, and this is, I think, what Anka will wanted to say. You can just go to ksb.tv, scroll down a little bit, click on vote here, and then vote for crypto slots, for example, in the right category. So we have all the Hexicans in our Hexi Award presented. That would be great. All right, so just a little break here for people to clear their head, because this is
information overload.
Exactly, this is game theory at its finest.
That's
right?
definitely a lot of information, yeah. And I mean, if you're not like in Hex already and pretty aware of different functionalities, then it's definitely a lot to follow. But yeah, everything what you said there is definitely true, and I also like the whole ecosystem, because I think that a bigger ecosystem leads to more investors, and more investors lead to a higher price. And I'm not like somebody who is like, no, only Hex, not even Hedron, and go away with your Icosa and your free money and free claims and all that stuff. Of course, but maybe you tell the audience how you are, like, in general, selecting between good and bad crypto.
I don't have like a pretty in-depth methodology on selecting it. I basically just read what it's about, and if I'm interested in it on an intellectual level, then I'll look more into it. That's about it. It's like, does this thing captivate my interest? Do I want to put money into it? That's about it. And Hedron Icosa was the thing that captivated my attention the most, the thing that wanted me to go back and continuously read like the mechanics, think about it when I'm not reading about it, and even like start a YouTube channel to like get my thoughts published publicly. It's not the only thing that I'm interested in. I'm also interested in like some things outside of the Hex ecosystem, particularly like GameFi stuff. So like gaming on the blockchain, I like some of the things that are happening on that side. But for me, good crypto versus bad crypto, it's just like, does it captivate my attention? Do I think it's cool? Like, do I like learning about it, reading about it, spending my attention on it? That's about it.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought, David, you will answer that. Go ahead, David.
So we have something interesting here in the chat, and Mudhawk is saying something that I was saying about the Maxi and the Perpetuals, for example. He's saying, I see no reason to not make all HEX stakes HSI and for 5555 other than liquidity providing. Yeah, when you want to liquidity provide, then you cannot do that. But other than that, maybe you want to capitalize on the 5555 stake, or you want to save on gas fees with Maxi. That's their argument, right? But what do you say to this argument?
Yeah, I think for the most part, it's true. I would still recommend Hex ladders, and I would still recommend even having a percentage of those being native stakes, because with HSIs, you do have the ability to not see your stake through. Now you get some functionality in return for that, but one of the benefits of Hex is being able to lock yourself away and not being able to touch that money. That is one of the value propositions of Hex, and so part of your portfolio should take advantage of that feature of Hex, where you're locked in, it's not going anywhere, and if you want to get out, you have to suffer penalties. So like for the new user, I still recommend some native stakes, and even having your ladder be a native stake built of native stakes. And then after you have that set, that's when it's just like punt it out, 5555 HSIs for everything. Like that's where I'm at now. Like I have no reason to make shorter than 15-year stakes anymore because my ladder is set and because they're all native stakes. So I'm locked in for 15 years. I have money that's not coming out until then, but I also have money that's locked up for 15 years that has the ability to be sold if I so choose.
I have something really interesting here. Let's bring it up as well. HSI borrow function is like a crypto credit card, and I think this is really interesting. And also, it just works, right? You make your HSI stake, and then you right away see how much Hedron you can advance against it. And it is pretty much like a crypto credit card because you have to pay it back, right? You have a time period. Maybe we can talk about that, like the advance function in Hedron. How does it work, and what is the specialty about that?
Yep. So the advanced function is exactly what it says. It's your ability to mint all of the Hedron that you would have been able to mint had you waited the entirety of your stake today. One important notice, the launch phase bonus isn't included in that. So if you got a 10x bonus, you can't advance 10x the Hedron. You can only advance the base rate. Now, where was I going with that? The way that works is you take an advance, but you have 30-day payment periods where you have to continuously pay down the advance. The cool thing is that the Hedron payments are burned. So as people take advances, Hedron's burn, which increases the Icosa yield, which is cool to think about. So as people take advances, that's a little bit more Icosa that's being distributed to everybody. But you not only pay principal, but there is a premium on top of it. Now, if you do the math, it works out to be like 1.6, 1.7% in its entirety. So like 1,000, like 100 hex, 100 Hedron you would end up paying an extra 1 Hedron over the life of that stake, which is pretty good. Like 1% interest isn't too bad, but because of that, you are having to go on the market and buy more Hedron to pay your advance over time. If you don't make 3 payments cumulatively, so 90 days of defaulting, 90 days of no payments, your stake becomes delinquent and it gets on the liquidation auction. So you lose your stake. So that's the risk. That's the main risk.
And with the repayment, I have a question. Can I just choose how much to repay, or repay everything at once, or how does it work?
So that, and I'm going to show you something else on my calculator too. That this is my favorite calculator of everything that I have. But yes, you can make as many payments as you want up front. So say you have like a 10-year stake, and then you can make, when you first take the advance, 5 years worth of payments up front, and then you don't have to make another payment for 5 years. And the things that you paid up front don't incur a premium. Premiums are only on once some time has been served with the advance. So yeah. Now, this calculator that I have is a calculator that helps you determine how many, if I took the Hedron that I advanced upon and I started earning a yield with it, with each given yielding opportunity, how many days would it take for me to generate enough money to make a single payment? So here you put all of the information about the HSIs. You put the APR or the rates of yield at maybe a liquidity providing position. Maybe it's single-sided staking on liquid loans with the stability token with USDL in the stability pool. Maybe it's Pulse X single-sided staking. But whatever opportunities you're looking into, and you potentially wanted to use some advance for your advanceable Hedron in that, you put in the APR here, and then this big matrix gets calculated where each of these numbers is how many days it would take at that APR to make a single payment. So for this first yielding opportunity, number 1, with a 30% APR, if the liquidity pool price or like your principal stayed the same and the Hedron price stayed the same, it would take 7 days to make a 30-day payment. So you know that this yield is sustainable to support your advance of Hedron. Now, I also created a matrices too, where if we assume the liquidity price is going down and the Hedron price is going down, or if it's going up and the Hedron price is going up, how many days would it take given the variability of those parameters? So you can then assess the risk given different scenarios of the Hedron price going up or down, or your principal going up and down, and to see what kind of risk you're taking on when you take an advance and you're trying to yield on it. And the reason I wanted to make this is because one of the big concerns about using these advances is that it's in Hedron, which is a cryptocurrency. And because it's a crypto, it's highly volatile. Because it's volatile, say you take an advance, it's worth $1,000. Hedron then 10x's, you now owe $10,000. That's like the worst case scenario. You would hate that for a loan. And so, but at the same time, debt is an extremely powerful tool. And with Hedron and HSIs, this is decentralized debt where you don't have to go to a middleman, a bank, a credit union, a company to get that debt to continue to build your financial position. You just go to the code, you just go to the contract, and then you can take debt against the contract. That's extremely powerful. And to be able to use that tool to yield and produce income is a really, really powerful opportunity that we have presented to ourselves. But you have to do it with the proper risk management strategies in place. And that's what this calculator is. It gives you a broad view of the potential scenarios of risk that you're taking on if you choose to use this debt to produce passive income.
And the thing with blockchain is that you are really in charge of what you're doing. If you click wrong, there's nobody who could give you your position back, right? If you get liquidated, the money is gone. So there are these parameters that you have to obey on, because this is the game theory which at the end, again, makes the Hedron price and the Hex price pump, and everything works so beautifully together.
Yeah, I mean, for example, where I like it a lot right now, the option of borrowing Hedron is now for the HSI buybacks, because there you can like borrow your Hedron, have more purchasing power in your hand, maybe because there are so much, you make a great deal, and then you can, either you hold on to it, to the HSI stake, which is nice, and if you get like a HSI stake, for example, in the with a bit of a volume, and still a launch bonus on it, there you can like mint the Hedron and pay back your loan.
Yep. Yeah. Yep, that's an option. Now, you do have to keep this in mind. If you do start minting against that stake, you lose Hedron that you can borrow on in the future for the stake that you're getting. So that is one trade-off to be aware of.
So as less you have minted, as more you can borrow on later on.
Yeah. Because you can't take an advance on something you've already minted. Like an advance implies you haven't minted it yet.
Oh yeah, got you, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so but that is a good strategy.
Yeah. I mean, if you have like HSIs with launch bonuses, you can just like also borrow it, and then with your mint from the same stake, you can easily buy it back, right?
Exactly. 100%.
I have a question here that is about the Icosa payout, and I think there is a 10% bonus if you do the 5555 stake. So X-Wolf is saying if you want to max the Icosa payout, the stake needs to be 5555. So can you tell us a little bit more about that and what the idea is behind that?
Yeah, so there is that bonus where like max stake lengths get 10% extra Icosa. But also, if you remember the formula, it's borrowable Hedron divided by the T-share rate. And borrowable Hedron is the number of B shares times the stake length that hasn't been minted, number of days of the stake that haven't been minted. So like, if you want the most Icosa, the stake has to be the longest to get the bonus, but also because the amount of borrowable Hedron goes up. So anything, if you're trying to get Icosa through the HSI buyback mechanism, anything less than a Quattro Cinco and you're just losing money. There's no point. Like if you're just trying to get Icosa, like it has to be a Quattro Cinco. If not, you just gave away money for no reason. Like you're losing out on money.
And this became clear to us really soon. Once we got the HSI system and we looked at it, I realized that there's no reason to make a 10-year HSI stake or a 12-year HSI stake. At the end, it should all be a 5555 because it is liquid anyways, right?
Yep, exactly. It's liquid via the secondary market. Like you can sell it on like OpenSea or X2Y2, any NFT marketplace, but it's also liquid in the sense that you can always exchange it for Icosa. So because the buyback mechanism is a trustless smart contract, these HSIs have indirectly the properties of an ERC20, at the very least the liquidity of an ERC20, because you can always exchange it for Icosa, which is an ERC20, and then sell it into the liquidity pool. So they both have the liquidity of an NFT, which is less liquid because you have to have a one-for-one buyer and seller, but they also simultaneously have the liquidity of an ERC20 because you can take the stake and exchange it for Icosa, which are immediately liquid all the time.
I have a question at this point. Do you think that because we have like most 5555 stakes here, we only have a few like with a 10x launch bonus, and those are like those diamonds where most of the people are looking at. Do you think that maybe looking for less than 5555 might be like also a good deal because there are no other maybe no other no, how do you call it, vote? No, it's not a vote, like
Less
money,
attention.
yeah, like for the auction, you know, like a bit, yeah, less bits on it, you know, that they will just be overseen, for example.
Absolutely, like that is like I have a feeling that Alex, when he finishes the UI, I think that's what he's been working on recently, is like making a really nice UI for the auctions. He's going to have the ability to filter just like the hexmodel.com. And so you're going to be able to kind of filter through the parameters that you want. And if you want to just find like what are the non-max stake length ones, like you could probably do that and then just put a bid on all of them and hope one of them gets through.
But Patrick, what would be the advantage of bidding for a stake that is a 5554, for example? Like, what is the idea behind that?
That you get this one and then you exchange it for Icosa, and then you can still get more value in Icosa for that than you needed to purchase it in the auction, you know, because in generally speaking, you know, if it's like a short-term stake, like a 1,000-day stake, it does not get much Icosa, but it also doesn't need like much Hedron in order to get it, you know, and a whale might not even want to bother with it, you know, because it's not a much value in there or something like that, and it's like, yeah, okay, everybody is like just sorting, you know, it looks like that most of the people will like filter 5555 and launch bonus, you know, and then the rest gets like overlooked, and maybe there are the best deals to make because of that, because it's less competition.
Yep, that's legit.
So you guys are looking at the auctions. I'm looking at the auctions. Have we seen a site where we can actually look at the stakes, or is that on the first link that we looked at?
Hexmodel.com is the best place for that right now, and we'll see what Alex comes up with in the next couple weeks. No, I don't know. I haven't been talking to Alex, so this is all my speculation. Don't hold him to that. Like he hasn't told me anything.
But it's great what Alex is providing for the Hex community. Obviously, this whole ecosystem of Hedron and Icosa. But right now, I'm especially thinking about the DApp Icosa.app, right? Which gave us an awesome front end to stake our Hex and stake our Hex, make HSI stakes, and to basically never forget to mint our Hedron, because it happened to me in the past.
That's the biggest thing, you know. I heard it already so often, you know, from people like, what? Hedron, can I mint it now? No, you can't.
I think there was a stake that had like $500,000 worth of Hedron that they forgot to mint before they ended the stake. Was that you, Abit? Was that you?
No, that was not me. You can definitely be sure if I forgot to mint Hedron, that must have been a stake that was really, really small, right? Because this is most of the time with the people, when they forget about the Hedron, it's just not worth as much. But the problem is with crypto, though, it could be worth a lot in the future, right? So definitely always remember to mint your Hedron. It could be worth a lot in the future.
But if it's not worth the gas fee, just buy it off the market. Like it'll end up being the same thing. If you're paying like $10 to mint $5 of Hedron, just go buy like $30 of Hedron off the market, and it's like basically the same thing because the price is so much cheaper.
But actually, at first, I would recommend wait for the weekend. Wait for the gas prices to go down, because you might see like 5 Gwei, 7 Gwei, and then it might be still like worth it, you know. So and if it's just like a little less, you know, a little bit less, then and you still like Hedron, then just mint it, because if you like Hedron, you might be also convinced that the Hedron price rises in the future. So then you just need to wait a little bit, and then those Hedron will be worth your fee.
Yep.
So the next question here for Crypto Sloth comes from Unclewell. He's saying, Sloth, do you think all the HSIs will be bought on the 13th?
I personally think so, but I wouldn't be surprised if, because I mean there are thousands on that first day, so it may be difficult for everybody to get through all of them. And the thing is, the timer doesn't start until the first bid is made. So all of the first bids aren't going to be made at the same time. It's going to be doled out throughout the day. So stakes that come live on November 13th, the auction may not start till like halfway through the day as people are making the first bid. So actually, now that I say that out loud, probably not. In that first 24 hours, all of them will probably not be bid, because not all of them can be started right at the second that the UTC time ticks over. So it'll probably take a couple days for those first HSIs on November 13th to get fully auctioned off.
Do you think there might be stakes in this list which do not get auctioned off?
So the only ones that wouldn't get auctioned off at all are ones where like the gas fee of making a bid is more than the amount that the stake is worth. So like say you had like, you know, just a crazy number, 100 share stake, or like 100 million share stake, something like less than a 1B share, right? At current prices, that's basically nothing. Who's going to make a bid on that? Those stakes would probably be just left on the liquidation auction without a bid on them. My personal speculation is that the SA is going to scoop those up to clear up the UI and then clean up the dashboard. But obviously, I have no actual evidence on why that would happen. That's just like that makes sense for something the SA would do to clean up the liquidation auction.
All right, cool. And then, like, so for the end of the stream, maybe do you have a question for me or for David, or in general?
Let's see. Well, how has everything been planning the next set of the Pulse Chain tour, the Pulse Chain giveaway tour? How's that been?
Patrick is really, really busy on that right now. I am concentrating on editing, so this is definitely a question for Patrick here.
Okay, actually, I'm not too busy on that. You know, once we ended the 555 tour, and once we knew, we won't get like any specific dates and updates from Richard anymore when it comes to Pulse Chain. We immediately told our audience, guys, it will happen, but first of all, we need the blockchain, and so you know, everything is like on. Still in the planning, you know, but a little bit on hold, because we don't know when Pulse Chain will come out. If we see Pulse Chain this year, then we would like to start with the first meetup or with the first workshop in February. If Pulse Chain is not starting this year, then we will just reschedule that. And what we can still do, because in February it would be a great location, for example, then we would just move to a general crypto workshop, you know. Then let's make a workshop about HEX, Hedron, and Icosa, for example, you know, where we have the assets out, you know, and where we can also fill up a day, and will also have like interested people with this system. And then Pulse Chain comes out, then we will have more information about the 1 million Pulse tour.
But Patrick, actually, what I meant to say
one of my
Patrick,
cities.
is
okay.
Yeah, what is your city? Do you want to say?
Yeah. No, I keep that to myself for now. But I see the same city you guys were in before, that it's still up there, the one that I was at before. So I'll coordinate with you guys and let you know. And I'll be there for that one.
All right, what I was meaning to say was, Patrick, he's not working too much right now on the million Pulse tour. Like he said, we do not know when the Pulse Chain comes out, but what we are working on really hard right now is what you say here on the screen share with San Diego, the 1st to 3rd December, where we celebrate the Hex birthday, 100% of uptime and flawless operation. And Patrick, do you want to talk about that? Like, what are the most interesting things for the Hexicans to know about the December 1st to 3rd?
Yes, of course. So what we are going to do, we meet on the 1st, you know, the 2nd is the actual birthday, and on the 3rd we are still there, you know, to relax. So on the first in the evening, we will meet at the Hard Rock Hotel at the float bar. So there are rooftop bar. It's like a free event, free for all. Everybody can just come and join the Hexicans there, and yeah, chill out and talk about crypto. Then the next day, the 2nd of December, the actual Hex birthday, we are going to meet midday at the harbor to go on a yard, on a 40-person yard. That's the only event which is limited, and we are only having like 4 spots or something like that left, 3 or 4 spots. And in the evening, we have the actual birthday nightclub party of the Hex birthday, where we are in the San Diego nightclub downtown. I always forget the name of the nightclub. Help me out.
It's called Park Nightclub.
Park, yeah, the nightclub is Park. All right, and there the party, plenty of Hex merch around the bar and so on. And then on the next day, so this is like all night long. And on the next day, we have a cabana party, like a pool party, where we have like a general crypto meetup, where we also would like to have the Hedron community, Icosa people come, and Mintra is coming, for example, and just like some crypto enthusiasts, who all like using smart contracts, who all like audited admin without admin key cryptos and so on. So that's what we would like to do on the search. So just casual cocktail in crypto, and yeah, that's it about for those 3 days. And the next big thing is the Hex Cruise next year in the end of April.
And we can actually go to the Hex Cruise in a second as well, but I want to stay here at the KSB TV side at the Million Pulse Tour, because everything we are doing, if it's the Hex birthday, if it's the Hex Cruise, if it's other events, are only to prepare for the Million Pulse Tour. The 5555 tour was such a great success for us, and really brought the community together. It was amazing to see how the community make it bigger and bigger and bigger. And now with the Million Pulse Tour, we want to make it even bigger and really adopt the masses to crypto and really bring the eyeballs to Hex that it deserves. And for that, we need the community to participate. So I want to tell everybody to go to Million Pulse Tour and just look at the events if you would like to come. RSVP, that helps a lot for us for the planning. And then it might be interesting for you to also be a member at the KSB TV YouTube channel, because there you can get special perks. For example, watch the 5555 tour documentary already, even though it's not even out yet. So everybody go to KSB TV. That would be amazing. And now we have about a couple of more minutes before the next episode, season 3 of the 5555 tour releases. Maybe we can go really quick to the KSB TV YouTube channel and look what happens right after the stream. We have here Women and Crypto talking about how to grow your network with Hex. And we have Lindsay. Lindsay is in the 3rd episode of the 5555 tour, and she will give her interview. And that's why we brought her on the stream. In a couple of minutes, the girls will go live right before the episode's premieres. So we have about 30 people watching right now. I think this is amazing. And thank you, Kryptosloss, for being here, providing the alpha and bringing all the people along, because all of that was my little plan, to bring the people here right now so they can watch the premiere in a couple of minutes right away to get the algorithm going. It would be amazing if everybody hits the like here and also hits the like in a second when the premiere starts right after the stream. But it was a great stream. I want to give the word back to Patrick. Is there some last words that you want to say to the community, or maybe to Kryptoslot?
No, actually, I'm really good. So Kryptoslot, yes, I would like to say thanks for coming on. Thanks for providing the audience with such good explanations. Actually, I've never heard such a compact explanation and giving like all the details in it as well. So that was actually great. It's a great clip for our channel. Thanks for that. Looking forward what happens next, in the whole universe. I like it that it always that there is something like all the time and always. I'm staking Hex since nearly 3 years, and in the first few months, like making my first longest stakes, I was like, okay, that will be a long time till there, you know, and then it's like constantly every few months there is something new within the ecosystem, what you can do with your hex and so on. So that's pretty great. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Well, hey guys, thank you so much for having me on. This was a blast, you know, going from a community member participating in your 5555 tour now to being on the KSB TV channel myself. It's an honor, guys, and I look forward to seeing you guys in person. I don't know if everybody knows, but you guys are going to be on my stream in a couple weeks, where we're gonna be just talking and hanging out. So I'm looking forward to that too.
And I found a little clip here to tell the people what are they about to see in the premiere. So let's play this little clip. And after the clip, we are out. After that, episode 3 will release. So stay connected on KSB TV YouTube channel. And then after that, we have Kaylin here. So you may want to see that as well. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for everybody who's in the chat. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I want to play the last video. And we are all off. Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Hex has given me a great deal more hope than I ever had for being financially set in my life.
Hex gave me hope for the future, for myself, for my children, for my financial stability, and that meant everything to me.
And so I found Richard Hart on YouTube one day by chance, and everything he said touched me.